Hello, welcome to Kingdom in Business series on my channel here, Kelly Fisher, your business advisor. As many of you know, I am building my Bible with biblical principles for business, and I'm very excited to share with you guys my journey, to share with you what I'm learning from studying the Bible with the business perspective. I remember years ago when I was active in my career as architect that I was always reading the Bible from the architectural perspective, seeing how God did everything and He already set up the measurements and everything. Do you know today the height we use for tables, the best ergonomic height for tables to use as a desk or a dining table, God gave to Moses years ago when He gave all the directions to build the furniture for a tabernacle. It's really cool to see that. And today, as a business advisor, I can see many instructions that God gave to us in the Bible. We have many business instructions for administration of the finances, the business, the house, the marriage. So you can find everything in the Bible. I read my Bible every year. This year I'm repeating the chronological Bible, but I bought this one here. It is the King James to be my business principle Bible. And today, reading my Bible, I read the time David is dying. He's very weak and he needs to pass over to his son the kingdom. But before that, when he was still with energy and vigor as a king, one of his sons, Absalom, he decided to be king in David's place, and David ran away from him. David didn't want to confront his son, and he ran away and had a battle and everything. So the soldiers, they were faithful to David. They fought for him, even against the son, even against David's will, because they want to protect his son. And today, reading the phase where was everything setting up for him to pass the kingdom to Solomon, his other son that was born next to Absalom, I forgot his name. He decided to gather together the leadership of the Israel and declare himself king over the word, over the desire of his father, over the promise his father gave to Bathsheba that his son was going to be the king. And then it made me think, what was the failure, what was the weakness of David that made two sons raise and go against him and against his will? We know David was not a saint, of course not, but David had his heart towards the Lord. So even that he was doing wrong things, and here we go to the whole theologic history of David's life, that he was a son of a concubine. He was not at the table with the other brothers and sisters because he was left behind to take care of the sheep, and he fought against the bear and the lion, and his father sent him to the war to give foods, to deliver foods for his siblings. We have the whole theological portion of David's life that made him to feel that he was inferior, that he was less than, and all the healing process that he needed to go through during the time that Saul was running after him to kill him. Every time when he played his harp, the Spirit of God came and set Saul free, and this got the enemy even anger against David. We have this whole history of David's childhood, David's teenager, and then David's adulthood, and living in a cave to become a king. Even that he anointed king during his teenagers, he became a king after the death of Saul. But anyway, reading that and seeing how easy it was for two sons to raise and invite all the siblings and the leadership of Israel to come along with them and declare them kings. From the business perspective, and I can read here the verse in 1 Chronicles 29:22, it says, "And did eat and drink before the Lord on that day with great gladness, and they made Solomon the son of David king the second time." So if you see, is David made Solomon king the second time. and anointed him unto the Lord to be the chief governor, and Zadok to be priest. So he didn't anoint Solomon to be king and priest the same way he was. Then Solomon sat on the throne of the Lord as king instead of David, his father, and prospered, and all Israel obeyed him. And all the princes and the mighty men, and all the sons likewise of King David, submitted themselves unto Solomon the king. And the Lord magnified Solomon exceedingly in the sight of all Israel, and this bestowed upon him such royal majesty, and had not been on any king before him in Israel. And we know the story of Solomon. He was the wisest king. He was the richest king. He was humble enough to come before God and say, hey, my father was amazing. I have no idea how to manage this kingdom, especially with siblings like mine. I imagine his mind thinking about that. If my siblings could come after my father, imagine after me. And David says that to Bathsheba, you are going to be enemies of them. But reading this make me think on a business principle that is succession, a succession plan. If you have a family business and you are the founder, you need to think about a succession plan. You need to think about to prepare the next leadership that will come after you. So you have a vision, you build your business, but then you need to prepare the next leadership. Or probably it's going to happen the same thing that happened with David. What I can think is David didn't prepare the next leadership. So even that everybody knew that he was trying to follow God's will, and he was the king and priest going to from the prophet Nathan to find God's will for Israel, he didn't spread the vision and where Israel is going to the leadership. He didn't choose in between the leadership the next one to succeed. He just, in his mind, he promised Bathsheba because it was God's will, but he didn't, I believe, I was not there, of course, but I believe he didn't proclaim that. And he didn't say to his kids, hey, you are going to be the next in leadership on this position, or you are going to do this. Solomon will be the king, but then you are going to do this, and you are going to do that, and you are going to do that. Again, I was not there. I have no idea what's happened. I'm just giving you my perspective from what I'm reading, okay? And I am using the business principle and business perspective. So from the business perspective, you need to choose 2 to 3 people to be the next in line for leadership, for an executive role. Why? Because if you choose 2 to 3, you start to train them. You are going to identify which one of them really have a leadership call, a call and a strength to be a leader, running a business and keeping the vision and expanding the vision. Think about that. And from experience, the time that me and my husband, we were intern pastors for Great Denomination, one of the pastors came to us and said, hey guys, do you know that the majority of the pastors in Florida, they want to retire, but they don't have anybody to put in their place. This was the pastor saying. Only that I know 13 churches already are in need of a new pastor because the pastor want to retire. So imagine that a great denomination of church, the pastors are getting old and they are not preparing the next in line for taking over the church. What is going to happen with that? Imagine the same thing that happened with David. Somebody is going to raise the hand, I am going to be the pastor. And then the leadership of the church, the denomination, is going to say, no, you cannot be the pastor. We are sending someone else. And it's going to start the fight inside the church and to fraction the church. The same way will be with the business. You will not have a leadership that the employees and the executive directors, they are going to respect the leadership. You need to choose 2-3 people that you can prepare to be the next in line. Along the years, you are going to see who has the capacity to take over the business you created. I want to read another verse here. It says in 2 Kings 20, verse 1, in those days was Hezekiah sick unto death. And the prophet Isaiah, the son of Amoz, came to him and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, set thine house in order, for thou shalt die and not live. So he's saying here, Hezekiah was illness, he was sick, and the prophet came to him and said, hey, put your house in order because you are going to die. If you are thinking on retire, if you are thinking on in some point to exit your business, put your house in order. Choose 2 to 3 people for you to start to prepare for the leadership role. Choose the best and the strongest one who has more good relationship, and then we can see the characteristics of Solomon. He was humble enough to ask God, hey God, I cannot be like my father, can you help me? And he was the wisest, the richest, and the peace came to Israel during his time as a king. It was the 40 years of peace in Israel the time Solomon was king, because he had a good relationship with everybody. He knew exactly how to connect, how to be righteous, how to give wisdom, how to reign with wisdom and help others and connect with others and have good relationship with the kingdoms around him. We can see all of that. Many kings coming to visit him and giving him gifts because of his wisdom and his good relationship. What I want to bring for you today is that succession plan, it is a kingdom principle, and you need to use that in your business. If you want to run your business by the principles, think about a succession plan. If you're a founder, think about bringing someone who has more a CEO mindset to run the business and expand the vision, and having this connection. David was the second king, and then he united Israel and Judah, so he was a kind of a founder of the Israel, but Solomon came with a CEO mindset, with a more of a CEO king perspective. That's the way I want to invite you to run your business by the principles, and I want to invite you to come talk with me. If you related with this message, if you think you need to build a succession plan, if you have a family business and you need to prepare your kids or a nephew or a niece to take over the business, so come to me. I will leave here a link for you to schedule a strategic session with me, and we can talk more about that, how you can run your business by the principles. Thank you so much for listening to me today, for joining us, and God bless you all. See you in the next video. Bye bye.